Morning and welcome to Demian Allen's Astrology and Tarot channel. And just a quick look at the upcoming new moon that we're going to be experiencing on April 12th, around about 3:31 in the morning UK GMT time. And I'm just going to take a look at the aspects and some of the influences on this new moon, this very powerful new moon that we're experiencing. And I say powerful simply because in the astrological zodiac wheel, after the spring equinox, around about the 20th of March, this is the first new moon of the astrological wheel. So it is a sense of a new start, a new beginning, and a real sense of optimism and courage that can come from this. And this is experienced by the chart of that moment of the new moon. And this one we've got a Capricorn rising, which puts the chart as a cardinal chart, which basically means the cardinal cross. So we've got the first house being Capricorn, the fourth, Aries, the seventh, Cancer, and a 10th, Libra. So, cardinal crosses or cardinal charts mean that things happen quite quickly. So that's the first thing to notice. The other thing I think is really kind of strong is the stellium of planets in this chart in that fourth house. Now, the fourth house is typically the roots of an individual, but from a sort of collective point of view, it's the roots of where we come from. And when you see a stellium of planets in the fourth house, it often indicates a time of renewal of where we're coming from and where we've been. So it's a lot to do with memories and the past and what we've experienced. There's a lot of ancestral lineage that you can get from the fourth house. So it's a very powerful house. Of course, in the natural zodiac, it's the Cancer house, and therefore it's ruled by the moon. So the home, the family, or the hub of the family certainly becomes important. But we've got the asteroid Chiron, we've got Mercury, the Sun, of course, the Moon, and Venus, all in that fourth house. And of course, what happens is that the fourth house causes a natural square to the first house, a square to the seventh, and an opposition with the 10th. So when you have squares and oppositions like that, and then, with the angular houses, you've always got a conflict of interest between the individual, the home, the family, relationships, other people, and perhaps aspirations and career. What's really interesting, particularly in the UK, is that we're sort of coming out of the lockdown. So this is the sort of next stage of coming out when shops can reopen here. And I have to say, the retail sector, I think, will do quite well since Mercury is now placed in Aries. And Mercury is about buying and selling and stuff like that. And it's applying a conjunction to the Sun. So I think it can be, but I think it can be quite impulsive over the next 2 weeks from the 12th that we've got. But because of the fourth house, what's interesting is it's not like everyone sort of coming out from their own metaphorical caves. People are still going to be sort of staying at home and just keeping an eye on things because of that fourth house influence that's going on here. What's interesting here is what's on the ascendant, which of course is Pluto. Pluto's right on the ascendant, and that's really interesting because again, from a collective point of view, the idea of transformation and change and letting go of old habits, old patterns. But how easy is it for us as a collective to do that? So I feel like this Pluto is signifying a need to let go of certain preoccupations that's been going on collectively for us all. And that may be, I do relate the current pandemic under, the virus under Pluto's jurisdiction. And so, maybe Pluto deals a lot with the aspect of fear. So, you know, it may be that we need to let go of a lot of fears that's been built up, maybe within the media and the press and what we've been bombarded with for some time here, which would indicate a Neptunian influence here, which of course is got a square to Mars. So, you know, dealing with a bit of fear here of how we approach this. So instead of all of us sort of bursting out of our homes, perhaps we'll just slowly kind of come out of our homes and see how we feel about that. So fear is very much on the surface, but you know, new moons are very optimistic and courageous in Aries, and they indicate a period when we feel a bit braver than normal. You know, and that moon at 20, it's 22 degrees, the new moon. So it's the last decan of Aries, which is subruled by Jupiter here, and Jupiter and Mars are in a nice trine aspect with each other. Mars is the applying trine to Jupiter, which is rather nice. I think that's really, really a really lovely combination actually coming up for us into next week. But you know, the moon is also approaching, making a conjunction to Venus in Aries as well during that later in that day of the 12th. So these are all very, there's an optimism, there's a little bit of fear going on here, the ability to transform, the ability to let go of patterns of behavior, of old thought patterns or old fears that we've been building up to. And then you've got the trine applying from Mars to Jupiter. In this house system, at this moment, this is the 2nd to 6th. So work here becoming a bit of a feature. People going back to work, making money for themselves. Again, the 2nd house, the 6th house, the working environment, service to others. So again, this indicates the retail sector. So there is a little bit of a optimism, a little bit of a boom thing. People are spending money here. People are happy to seem to be go to work again, particularly if you're talking about the retail sector here as well. Just that midheaven, it's interesting. The midheaven point in this chart is at 0 degrees in Sagittarius, and because I use the whole sign house system, it's crept into the 12th house. The rule of the midheaven is Jupiter, so again we go back to that Jupiter aspect. This would indicate maybe not, certainly because that midheaven in the 12th house and the rule is Jupiter, that you're still going to get a lot of, I would say, online trading or buying and selling, or people spending money online because that midheaven is in that 12th house. It's also very good for the creative industries at this particular point. So you've got that that sort of manifesting. So these are all things that I would say are really strong, and it's a really nice new moon that I think for a lot of people it's going to feel optimistic. We still got the square between the dance between Saturn and Uranus, but that's ongoing throughout the year. You know, the revolutionary tendencies, the you know, against the government, or certainly questioning some of the policies that have been brought forward, and any policies that restrict freedom in any form or take away any sort of personal liberties are gonna really, they're going to be challenged an awful lot this year, because that Saturn and Uranus is clashing in the sky. There's too much tension. Most of the population not going to necessarily take that, or there'll be certainly a percentage of the population that will go, right, okay, we're dead against this. So I think that's a really, that's an ongoing kind of issue. But this new moon is very, very powerful, and it's like we are all slowly sort of coming out of our caves, slowly and tentatively, you know, and sort of catching the light and looking out, and being very aware that now it's time for us to be a bit more courageous and to face fears and to get on with it. That's the general collective theme that's going to be played out for this new moon, for us all. And you know, from the 12th, there's 2 weeks as the moon is waxing. There is a need for us to all be seen and to come out of the shadows, as they would say, and that's going to be very, very, very powerful. So there we go. So listen, I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and no doubt I will speak to you all again very soon.